Hi, my name is Paul Gore, Director of Community Development for the Asian Chamber of Commerce, Houston. Welcome to our ACC Learning Series, June 23rd, 2020. The Asian Chamber is monitoring the COVID situation since January affecting our Asian business here in Houston, and happy to put together a wonderful webinar with Cathy Ma, Director of User Acquisition, and Mariah Kwab, Content Marketing Specialist at Thomas, to better understand how COVID-19 is impacting global supply chains and being inspired by coping strategies used by manufacturing companies to combat the pandemic. The Asian Chamber is an organization celebrating 30 years helping the Asian business community to foster economic trade among our members. And this is a crucial time about resources that could help your business stay afloat through these uncertain and trying times. But before we continue the webinar, I'd like to provide housekeeping items. We'll have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. You can ask questions through the Q&A button in the program panel located in the lower portion of your screens. If you have questions during the middle of your webinar, please submit your questions there. Note, we will try to answer all the questions asked, but please forgive us if we're unable to answer your question because of time constraints. Just want to let you know ahead of time. Lastly, the presentation will be recorded and made available on our website at the end of the webinar. So please stay engaged and don't worry about taking notes. We want to make sure you're focused because a lot of information will be covered in this short amount of time. Before we hand it over to our presenters, please let me take some time to talk about our upcoming programs. Next week, we have a program with winning your business for business. It's a great opportunity for you to be able to learn resources and tool set at growing your business. That's next Tuesday at the same time, 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock. And following that, we have a session in July 9th with the Department of Labor. That's a wonderful event that we're having. They can give resources and guidance on labor laws that affect your business. So please sign up for them. So without further ado, I want to pass along the mic to Cathy and Mariah. Please, Cathy, go ahead, start.
Right, thank you, Paul, for the introduction. Let me make sure everyone can see my screen. I assume so. I'm just going to soldier on and go ahead. Yes, okay, thank you, Mariah, for letting me know. So today we're going to talk about actionable supply chain data and sourcing opportunities. We're Thomas and I am Cathy, the Director of User Acquisition. I think Paul went through a few of the housekeeping items, but I just want to reiterate that we're all working from home, and I hope you'll be patient with Wi-Fi signals and sound quality. I'm speaking from Catskills, New York, and my joke is there could be bears out there looking for honey and accidentally pull down poles. Hope not, but if that's the case, I'll jump right back in with the usual telephone. And yep, Q&A at the end, and we will circulate a copy of the presentation and all the resources mentioned. And during the Q&A section, I will turn on my camera so you can see me and know that I'm real and that I'm not wearing my pajamas while I'm talking to you. I actually put on a blouse for all of you today. So a little bit about me, Cathy. So I've been really passionate about the use of data and content, and my career was a really weird career. I started being a sociologist on Wikipedia, understanding how technology can make the world a better place. I grew up in Hong Kong, and I have the weirdest accent because I also spent the majority of my adult life living in London, where I met my wonderful husband, who happens to be an American. And after 5 years of long-distance relationship, I moved here and I started at Thomas 2 years ago. So my job at Thomas is to really help increase our resources for buyers and suppliers to help you guys grow. And let me allow me to introduce my colleague, Mariah. Mariah, do you want to introduce yourself for us?
Sure, thanks, Cathy. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining today. My name is Mariah Hauk. I'm the Content Marketing Specialist here at Thomas. And I help create content kind of like this webinar, ebooks, surveys, blog posts, all to help you get your job done. So thanks again for joining us, and I'll pass it back over to Cathy.
Thank you, Mariah. So we have a super packed agenda today. I will spend 2 minutes in explaining Thomas, only because I need you to understand how we gather our intelligence, data, and insights. And then the 3 core areas I want to talk to you about is, number 1, we've spoke with over 3,800 manufacturers in North America. So we can share with you the impacts of COVID-19 and some of their coping strategies to hopefully help you navigate the current landscape. The second part is from working with over 10,000 manufacturers on an annual basis, we develop our own digital checklist to help power up businesses. And it is even more important than before because, as you might have noticed, a lot of physical trade shows have canceled. So I'm going to share with you some of the really important digital items that we notice are helping clients a lot in generating leads and sales revenue. I believe I have also a colleague, Dan Carr from Thomas. He is actually one of our marketing experts. So if you have any questions, feel free to talk to us. Today, I think we have quite an intimate session, so please don't be shy and ask any questions you like. And finally, I will actually share with you an additional sourcing and response system born out of COVID-19. We have over 2 million page views generated across this system, and over 1 million users have used it with companies like Honeywell, 3M, GE, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll talk to you all about that in a bit. But before we keep on yapping about Thomas and who we are, I'd love to find out a little bit more about you. So Paul, would you please queue up the poll that we put together on which of the following options best describe the industry you're in? Thank you, Paul. So you should all see an option on your screen. Yep, I'm seeing, so we have medical, healthcare, manufacturing, energy. Let's see. This is really fun. It's like watching horse racing. I'll give it another 2 minutes. Great. So from the list, it looks like the majority of the participants today are in manufacturing, transportations. We have some medical, oil and gas, constructions, and utilities. So I think this presentation would be perfect. Oh, you can't see results. So Mariah said she cannot see results. So let me see if, oh, now she can. Okay, so you can see results now. She's like my best teammate. I remember one time I ran a webinar and then I realized I wasn't sharing my screen for the first 15 minutes. So Mariah is here to make sure that that doesn't happen. So yes, the majority of the participants are in manufacturing, and then we have transportations. So pretty sure what I'm going to show you will be quite relevant to you, because Thomas has been around for over 122 years. You might have known us as the Great Green Book, the Thomas Register. We had been, and we always will be, a supplier network where we work very actively in connecting industrial buyers with suppliers like you. And we have almost all of our resources are for free, and we only advertise for our sponsors occasionally. But the key is we are here to power America's manufacturing growth. In addition, I always describe Thomas a bit like Shopify for manufacturers, because we have an industrial marketing agency within our company, as well as product data solutions, where we'll build really sophisticated product data solutions, aka catalogs, for manufacturers like Honeywell. So we have custom-made CAD models where people can configure and download. So a lot of really cool technologies have been invented in Thomas for the last 2 decades. And finally, because of all these data and activities that are happening across our platform and our clients and our users, we anonymize all of that to protect our users to produce Thomas industrial data, which is something that I will use in demonstrating in a bit how the industry have changed because of COVID-19. Right, let me pop back in. So on our platform, we have over 1 million active registered users, from Unilever to Boeing to 3M to FedEx, and I'm about to schedule a call with Nestle talking about how we can help them with the diverse sourcing. So I think There are a lot you can see on ThomasNet. Notwithstanding, we actually have 70,000 categories of suppliers on our platform, from adhesive to automation to machinery, materials, pumps and sink, A to Z. We cover all of that. So how does it work? It all starts with thomasnet.com, where you can come onto our platform. You can type and search for any suppliers you need. But enough about Thomas. Today, I really am here to share with you what's happening with your community of manufacturing peers. So let me start by showing you a quick video. So we interview manufacturers, and this is the results.
My name is Karen Norheim. I am president of American Crane and Equipment Corporation.
My name is Roy Paulson. I'm the president of Paulson Manufacturing.
Neil Doniger, vice president, Nadco Tapes and Labels.
My name is Mike Wetzel, president and CEO of Air Innovations.
My name is Brad Ingalls, and my company is Bling Bling Packaging and Display.
We have seen changes in demand. Definitely a slowdown and a pause compared to last year.
From this time last year, orders and inquiries are down about 50%. We are fortunate that we have not had to alter any employees' hours or shifts. All of the plants I utilize are open and ready for business.
This is an unusual thing. We've never dealt with this. No one's ever dealt with this. And so you're not going to make all perfect decisions. And okay, that's fine, right? But you make a decision, and then you live with it, and you adapt, and you move from there.
On the positive note, I have seen a tremendous resurgence of interest in people manufacturing products here in the United States.
I have found it to be very refreshing how both my competitors and my allies in this industry have collaborated to help each other out with supplies that are needed to make a lot of PPE. We have supplied foam, we have supplied antimicrobial coatings, we have bought from our competitors and our allies, and we're all working together. It's been very refreshing.
Probably the best thing that has come out of it is a recognition on supply chain and where your products are coming from. We had some kind of solo channels for certain products coming from certain countries or certain vendors, and have had a disruption in those supply chain. And I see it across the whole country. People in general, were getting too comfortable with always having access to global products. A good thing has come out of this is people will have a little different viewpoint on American-made goods. But I think a respect for having a domestic supply chain, I think, is very important, as well as to balance your international supply chain.
I firmly believe once the viruses reside, companies will consider moving into smaller facilities and keep some employees working from home. Those currently working from home are finding they are a lot more productive, happy, with less distractions. Eliminating commute time, particularly in LA, is substantial savings in time and money.
I think it's key that anybody who has the capacity to manufacture be very versatile, flexible, that you can think outside the box, that you are aware that you need to not do maybe the same old, but figure out a way to adapt and work together.
Never has it been more important to communicate with your people. You need to adjust your sales and keep your team engaged and productive. This storm is not over, and you will need to be agile and responsive to manage the coming crests and troughs. It has been made apparent how important a technology roadmap is for businesses and industry, and we can learn from this crisis and build on it to catapult ourselves forward into the future.
Please stay safe, and thank you for your time.
Right, so this is actually our editorial team reaching out to our clients and really trying to understand how, from a qualitative perspective, how COVID-19 had impacted their businesses. But let me share with you quantitative data, because ultimately Thomas is a data and technology company. So since the onset of COVID-19, I was actually in Asia. I was celebrating Chinese New Year holiday in Tokyo with my mom. And I was so shocked, all of our Hong Kong friends are like WhatsApp messaging me. I'm sure you guys been through the same thing, where it's like, hey, Kath, can you get us more masks? And I'm like, what's going on? And at that point, growing up in Hong Kong, having experienced SARS, I knew something serious happened, because I've never seen China shutting down a whole province, right? So since February, we started launching a monthly survey, and by now we accumulatively have talked to over 4,600 respondents. And I'm sharing with you some of the report data from May and June that we haven't even released publicly, but I want you to be the first organization to see all the findings. So similar to the demographic of people on this webinar, you can see that a lot of the participants are in manufacturing, some from aerospace and defense, a lot from medical care, automotive, constructions, etc. So this is the very sobering slide. You can see the pink are the percentage of businesses feeling they were negatively impacted by COVID-19 outbreak over time. In February, everyone was disturbed by the supply chain crisis in China. And then in March, I think that's when most manufacturers told us that, hey, it feels like, you know, all the embargo, the trade problem is now lifting a little bit. They could relax a little bit. And then end of March, you know, the NBA season got canceled. Everyone realized, wow, COVID-19 is here in America. And then you can see the percentage of businesses being impacted had only increased since then from 89% to now 90% for the last 3 weeks. A majority of the people notice that, you know, there's a significant decline in their demand and services, and disrupted cash flow is a big problem. Some of them reported problems in, you know, supply chains for the materials and services, and shipping and logistics is another quick issue. I'm going to also share with you a few of the, you know, direct quotes from our users. Our aerospace customers are increasing their demands while our commercial and industrial clients are declining in their demand. So quite a lot of the people I've spoken with, they notice that it's not a very, you know, they can't say everything is going down, because some of the newly discovered product and material categories are going up because there's an increase in reshoring interest. But at the same time, general demand went down because everyone's staying at home. Manufacturers are implementing revised work hours. Some of them do 1 week on, 1 week off. Some of them implemented, you know, PPE as a mandatory practice within their plants. And a lot of them notice that, and maybe you feel the same, and feel free to let us know in the Q&A area, that decision makers who can sign off deals are not really making decisions right now because everyone is holding their breath trying to understand the true impacts. And stay-at-home orders are preventing some people from working at customers' location, even though they thought they're essential. Of course, you know, since we put together the survey, things start opening up, and we would love to hear from you as well in how, you know, in Texas, if you're still able to visit your clients or communicate with them. And what is quite surprising to us, maybe not to you, is it's difficult for manufacturers to keep everybody productive, because, you know, when some people are getting unemployment checks and that actually out-earns what they get from their day job, you know, it's hard to motivate people. And some people are actually actively asking for hazard pay and insurance. So I'm curious if you also experience the same problem. But what is interesting is, you know, American ingenuity, right? What we notice is a significant surge in supply chain needs for PPE. And 49% of the businesses that pivoted to provide PPE related product, they have pivoted to new market to address COVID-19 related needs. And they also diversified the supply chain. And they're also talking to experts in help guide them with their pivoting. So this is, I think, the most important slide in this section. As I mentioned, there are 3 sections in this presentation. I would love to draw your attention to the bars on the right, from likely to extremely likely, and see this trend of upward interest. You know, at the beginning of the survey in February, only 23% of the participants were likely interested in reshoring, and now that jumped over 13 points. You're talking about a sample size of close to 1,000 manufacturers per month per survey. So this is something that I'd like you to pay attention to. If you're an importer, if you're sourcing from Asia, or if you're actually thinking about diversifying or becoming a supplier for reshored manufacturers, there can be a lot of downstream opportunities for you. Where are these opportunities? And I'm definitely going to share this deck with you because this is something that I encourage everyone to print and put it on your wall. Most of the manufacturers we spoke with, they're interested in reshoring machining tools, fabricated materials, and PPE. So those are the top 3 areas where people are most interested in finding local manufacturers and suppliers. But it's not all doom and gloom, right? I think what's really powerful is when we close our survey, over 90%, 91% of our manufacturing participants said that this sector can definitely recover from the effects of COVID-19. So this wrap up our first part of this presentation. This is a very high level overview of our survey. And if you sign up to join the survey panel, not only, sorry, it's really hard for me to get my in-law to like not pick up the phone. So let me just cue them. Yes, so I'm the daughter-in-law of the year, just, you know, destroying my parents-in-law phone call a day at a time. Right, back to you guys. So I was about to say, it's really important for you to join our survey panel if you're interested, in being the voice of the Asian commerce community and sharing your thoughts. But also what's important is you're going to get all the free reports that are very in-depth. Most of the reports are like, you know, 30 pages deep, and they're all free. So if you need it for presentation, for meeting with clients, take the deck and use it however you want. So second part, as I mentioned, Thomas has been around for over 120 years. All we do is to power the growth of America's manufacturing. So this is my attempt in condensing what we learned in the past 122 years into one checklist for you. I'm going to go through everything quite quickly, but remember, we have a lot of free resources. You can always come onto our platform to learn more. So let's start. What are the 7 most important things you need to make sure your business is doing today? So we'll start by, you know, having a presence. Who are you? What's your brand? And then how we can use social proof to create confidence even without meeting someone in person. And everyone talks about content marketing, but manufacturing content marketing is a whole different beast. I will share with you the content that are most powerful in driving leads. And also, you know, I came from a consumer media background. When you shop for, you know, I don't know, like a TJ Maxx, you know, the ads follow you around for the ottomans that you've been looking at. And manufacturers don't tend to do that. If someone actually looked at sprockets and bearings that are worth, you know, $10,000 per 1,000 pieces, no, do you actually spend some money in following those leads around? In addition, lead generation is really important, where you need to find out, you know, who are the people who are actually interested in your business, get their contact so that you can mobilize yourself or your sales team to really follow up with them. And that leads me to lead nurturing. Like, how do you become someone and stay on the top of the mind of the people that are interested in your parts and business? And finally, I'll end with what I coin as beyond analytics. Everyone talks about numbers and data, but I'm a storyteller. If your reporting doesn't tell you a story that leads you to actionable insights, that's useless. So let's jump onto it. So our survey realized that your website is actually the #1 most important factor that industrial buyers look at. When we look at how people browse ThomasNet, they would search for, you know, bearings, find a new supplier, but the first thing they do is to click through our website to look at your website. So how your website looks is really important. We also notice through a lot of testing, having social proof is really important. It doesn't have to be a Thomas badge. You can use ISO, you know, all the certification, FDA approved. If you have any certification that are done by third party, put it on your website and make it obvious. Because from our tests, we noticed that having badges actually can significantly increase requests for quotes on your website. Just like, you know, if other people are using this, if other people trust you, I would trust you too. 3, content marketing. As I already alluded to, industrial marketing is very different from usual content marketing. The key question you need to think about is what are the most, you know, highest value asset that can help your buyers, and how do you set up landing page to capture the most important information so that your sales team can contact them, not as a salesperson, but as an advisor during the buying process. There are many times we would help manufacturers understand concepts and do checklists like this call. It's not a sales call. It's about, hey, these are the things that we've learned. This is what may help you. Take this, because building a relationship is key, and content is what you can use to do that. So a lot of times we notice for suppliers, if they have a capability page that really structurally outline their products and services and certification, conversion is significantly better than when they don't. Interactive product data is another really interesting element. So the fact that you can click through to look at the product, you can look at the prices, you can add to cart, having e-commerce solution is key to conversion. In addition, as I said, social proof is really important. So when you see, this particular company actually worked with other manufacturers like me, then it's more likely for me to, follow suit and use you as my supplier. And finally, I think most of you, without actually doing more work, would have actually a whole folder of quality certifications, compliance, and standards. Don't hide it away. Don't let it sit in your drawer. Scan it and put it on your website. That's one of the easiest way for you to get someone to get in touch with you, to download your certificate, so you know who ultimately is interested in your business. And as I mentioned, retargeting is so important, and so few manufacturers actually do that, because it sounds intimidating, but it's very easy to do. If you have Google Analytics, for example, and Google Ads set up, and they're all free services, you actually can link up the two systems and just say, hey, Google Ads, please retarget anyone that visited my website for the last 60 days, and then follow them around on the internet so they can keep on seeing your ads around them, so that you're at the top of their mind when they're sourcing again. So, but your salespeople need names, right? Like no matter how great your content is, no matter how many times your brand is in front of your customers, you need to be able to give people like a reason to talk to you. So what we found is having downloadable product assets like catalog applications and put it behind a registration form is really powerful. In addition, unlike any other industry, we make our own products, right? So if you actually create specific parts and materials, make sure you have CAD files so that engineers themselves can make sure that you are what they're looking for, and then they can nudge their procurement people to get in touch with you. And they actually convert 2.5 times better than any other content we have seen in the manufacturing space. So remember, on your website, you have to have requests for quotes using all the content assets that I kind of illustrated above, as well as you can actually create a free profile on thomasnet.com. Again, I don't know why this company does that, but we keep on giving everything for free, where you can actually put your website on our website. And we, on an average, has 1.5 million visitors a month who are all industrial buyers. So you can put your brand in front of buyers. And I say sometimes we're like Yelp for manufacturers, but we're a lot nicer, I think. So point 6, lead generation, lead nurturing. So once you actually have someone giving you their email, what we do is we actually set up auto responses, or if you don't have a lot of people coming through your gateway, you actually can email them and talk to them and say, hey, I received a note from marketing that you downloaded a minimal wall thickness chart. What do you think of it? Do you need help? This is where you can start building a relationship and get customers to return in a scalable way. And final part of this checklist is analytics. So if you are familiar with any web analytics tool, or even if you have not, you must have heard of something called Google Analytics. But there are additional Google free tools such as Search Console and Data Studio. So what we're showing you is something that we've done for our clients, where over time we help them move the ranking on Google for all the metal parts that they're selling, so that they're getting more people clicking through, and they're generating more page views, they're growing their brand. And we actually use something called Google Data Studio to connect all the data and make it pretty. So even if you don't have any data marketing background, you can understand how your business is growing through all the lead generation effort that I'm describing to you. But we don't stop there. So I'm going to introduce a terminology that you may or may not heard of. It's called conversion rate optimization. And if you use Facebook or Twitter or any social media tool, you will notice that on a daily basis, it's almost like the website or the apps that you're using look and change quite regularly. Why do they do that? Because in digital, we're always constantly trying to optimize how people respond to your content. And this is a really good example. If, for example, if you are the owner of Highland Equipment, I don't know how often you test your form, and I would love to see, if you can guess which variation actually got them higher number of people converting and giving you their emails for you to call. So I'm going to give you a second to think about. I should do a poll here next time. So, okay, I won't torture you any longer. Here is the answer. So 37% increase in form submissions. So if per year you get 100 leads, you're talking about potentially getting 37 more clients coming through your door by just having a better looking form. So conversion optimization is a step beyond just looking at data. It is about being creative and testing your website to make sure it is doing the job you need. And again, that's Thomas. I would say we're actually a company of 300 nerds. We actually created this is not even a product because we're not charging money for it. It's called Thomas Web Tracks. Once you put Thomas Web Tracks code on your website, you actually can see your visitors not just by a number, because we have a way of securely and safely looking up their IP address to deduce what industry they come from, their revenue size, if they are from aerospace or military, or even if they're from different departments of the government or from a private sector. So what it means is, if you notice that you have U.S. Department of Defense browsing certain part of your website, you know that your business is interesting to them, and then you can think about your target strategy, and you can even follow up with those people in looking at your customer relationship database or management system, in really sending them more interesting and newer information. That's how you can grow your business. So in order to access Thomas Web Tracks for free, we've put the web link on the deck, but it's just business.thomasnet.com/webtracks. Or you can also book a session with our marketing expert for a completely free consultation. So we'll share the deck at the end of the presentation. But just to recap, these are the 7 things that are really important for any business. But today for manufacturers, we have no more trade shows. People may be doing virtual trade shows, but I doubt, how good it is for asynchronous communications. By having all these 7 steps set up for your platform, you can be 10 steps ahead of other manufacturers. So the final area that I wanted to talk to you about today is, okay, we were very strategic about the macroeconomic impact on COVID with the sector. And then I share with you 7 tips on how you can future-proof your business. And here, I want to give you some very tactical solutions that can immediately help you source for COVID-19, but also generate leads. So we are a data platform, and as I was telling you the story of me being in Tokyo and freaking out where, everyone I knew in Hong Kong was asking me to buy masks for them, I realized on Thomas, we have anonymized data in how people are sourcing on our platform. If you see number 1 to 4, masks, sanitizers, papers, fabric, and cloths, they completely skyrocketed. Like we used to have, 5 to 10 as our core beats, like core content and supplies that people are looking for. That's when I knew something was very odd. That was even before our country shut down for it. So what we did was we actually asked our 500,000 manufacturers to volunteer in speeding up the supply of PPE to help, protect the first responders out there. And our 100+ expert analysts and engineers work around the clock. Like, I cannot tell you how often my colleagues actually completely didn't stop, working just to make sure that we are connecting NGOs, hospitals, government agencies with manufacturers like you. As a result, we put together a special heading on Thomas. It's called a COVID-19 response heading. And we now have over 2,000 manufacturers serving fast-growing categories like PPE, disinfectant, ventilator parts, et cetera, et cetera. So if you are a manufacturer that can help, or you need to find more businesses because you've pivoted, register. I'll show you the link in a bit, because I have so many suppliers asking me to take them off because they're getting so many business and leads that they no longer can take more business for the rest of the year. And this means a lot for us at Thomas, because we're not here just to make money. We're here to make sure that everyone can survive this pandemic together as businesses. So why list on Thomas, right? This is really fascinating because on ThomasNet, every single suppliers, they don't just add themselves. Our content analyst team will actually structurally validate all the data points such as the location, the firmographic data, what year were you found, revenue, size of your company, your expertise and capabilities, as well as qualifications. And for the Asian Chamber of Commerce at Houston, we are all minorities, and you can certify your business with the SBA. And with that, you get your foot in the door with huge government contracts and also, huge Fortune 500 companies because they have the diversity goal. If you haven't done that, I strongly encourage you to look into it. And I'll give you some examples in a bit. So whether or not you're a buyer or you're suppliers, if you need to look for new suppliers or you're generating business ideas, you can use Thomas to search, evaluate, and connect with our suppliers. So what do I mean by that? Let me just break it down quickly. So on Thomas, you actually can search. So I'm going to use COVID-19 as an example where you pop in and then you can type COVID-19, where you can see our now like 2,000 plus manufacturers on the platform, and all the data is there. You don't even have to log in to see these results. And once you're on this page, you actually can see our fast growing response suppliers list. And within every single data frame, like our search results, you see all the structured data, like all metal sales, for example, is from Cleveland, Ohio. You can see the company size and year found. With COVID, I'm noticing a lot of newly founded company that I don't know if I could trust. And with all these structured data, it really helps you find partners that you have more data points to assess with. You can search within results, such as putting, N95 respirators if you're looking for more PPE for your organizations, and we'll filter the results for you. In addition, you can sort, by years found, how big the companies are, plus also all the quality certifications. We have over 200 of them. And now I'm just gonna pan over to do a quick demo for you. Thomas actually has something called supplier diversity as a search engine. For example, I might be looking for metal fabrication as a supplier that I need to look for, or you work in metal fabrication and you want your business to be in front of more people. You can see that, we have all the ownership diversity options. Here, I can actually filter all the suppliers by Asia Pacific Americans and click apply selection to view suppliers. So here, if you're actually looking for suppliers with certifications and requirements, it's not just restricted to diversity. You can also use all of the quality certification, or you may even be looking for organizations that are serving in Texas, North and South. You can filter all of that within your fingertips. So what is interesting, I'll just tell you one anecdotal story. So I actually met with two diverse suppliers. One is a African-American owned business owner, and the other is a woman-owned business. And they told us that through qualifying for SBA certification, they landed huge government contract. The woman that I spoke with actually designed the Metro subway, Metro card. She won that bid because of her classification. So definitely look at that for your business as well. And part two is how you can evaluate all the companies on our platform. On our platform, you see a lot of structured data, and you can actually click through on all search results. If you see someone who is ITAR registered, you can download a certificate. You can go to their website to double check if they're SGA approved. We deep link to SBA and other organizations so you can see whether or not someone's verified. And also we allow self-reported information, but we usually rely on the top 3 data points for assessments. And when you look at any of our suppliers, say you found a COVID supplier, you can look at all the in-depth business description, what are the capability within COVID and beyond. And you can see, additional business details, and you can even see that they're Thomas registered, which means that they're more verified by our content analyst team. So now you found the suppliers you want, you actually can create a short list. Say I found, mass manufacturers. I can create a short list by clicking the save button and continuously adding them to my short list. And this will require you to register on Thomas and get a free account. So again, we don't charge for any of this. So Kath, you may ask, why do I need a short list? Well, it's because sometimes if you spend all the time in creating, in doing all the research, sometimes you want to come back and we will allow you to compare all of these suppliers that I've saved, I can actually export them into a CSV file. Like you can even share that with your colleagues by clicking the shortlist button, go into the list that you've selected, and boom, you get the whole table of the data that I just showed you, again, for free. And if you actually like everything you're seeing, you can check it all, and you can download and get an Excel file into your desktop. You can upload it onto your procurement database or your CRM, whatever you need. And we have all the structured data, as I mentioned, from company name, location, contact information, annual sales, quality certifications, and more. So, and the final step is, hey, Kath, this is great. I found a lot of great manufacturers here. Now I want to request quotes. And it's super easy. So say using Vanguard as another example, you click request a quote and you can submit a form just like that, and then they would get an email from us, and you can even select up to 5 suppliers to send the same request for information or request for quotes. So it can save you some time as well. And see, like once you click all the 4 of them, you click request information and you can upload anything and send it to the suppliers. So you may say, Kath, I switch spend category. I'm a procurement person, and now I have to source something that I've never done before. We even have something called custom quotes. So this is a free service again. Our engineer will actually help you by looking at your request, and then they will try to recommend up to 5 qualified suppliers for you. And I actually introduced someone today who was looking to prototype a special machine to our engineers, and I think they're helping them right now. So to use it is super easy. You go to our website, click the custom quotes or request a quote button, and then you will see a form where you can fill in all the structured data, where you are, what kind of shop you're interested in, quantity, as well as uploading any CAD drawings, image, or even NDAs. And it is as simple as that, and then we'll connect you with the right suppliers. So to wrap up the 3rd section of this webinar, feel free to contribute, by being part of the COVID-19 response system. Thomas is doing this completely for free. We have multiple federal and state agency and Department of Commerce thanking us for putting the system together. As I mentioned, over 1 million visitors have used the system, and we have so many RFIs being processed. And Mariah can correct me, last week we actually helped the Native American Community Organization being connected to 8 manufacturers who were willing to donate PPE because the Navajo community were really hit hard with COVID-19. And I think this is when Thomas pays back to the community that we've been serving. And if you like, you can be part of it too. So to recap, Thomas, we have all the company profiles, structured data, and all the advanced tools where you can use such a search filter. You can compare suppliers, save and download shortlists, export all data, or even use our custom quotes for parts and materials that you're not familiar with. Again, everything you see on this screen is completely free. So if you're interested in using any of our tool, feel free to register and we'll take care of you. So finally, 2 additional resources before I go. We do actually create a newsletter, again, completely for free. We have over 300,000 active subscribers reading our newsletter on a daily basis, where we share all the survey results, all the useful guides that I just demonstrated. And feel free to join us. I hope I'll see you on the other side. Also, we actually have a team of engineering writers putting together technical guides, such as how surgical masks are made or how they're manufactured, differences between K95 and N95, or what is a heat exchanger. All those guides are free, and you're more than welcome to ask us anything, and we'll try our best to help you out as well. So that recaps everything I wanted to share with you today. Most importantly, number 1, insights and data we learned about COVID impacts on the manufacturing, and the 7 steps to your digital power-up strategy. And also, I just walked you through the Thomas sourcing and COVID system. Remember, it's not just specific for COVID-19. You can use this to source everything, but we are here to help the community as best as we can, and our free resources. So I think we still have close to 10 minutes left for any questions.
Hey, Kathy, this is Paul. Thank you so much. This is a wonderful presentation, and those who are attending, one of the reasons why we brought Thomas on board is to have them do a presentation is because we want to make sure you can get as a supplier to get your particular products seen and on a database so that buyers are looking for particular items and they're basically available here as a resource. It's a wonderful resource, and this is something that I want to make sure everyone in our community is aware of, and even the resources that they've been providing. So Kathy, thank you. I do have some questions. I know one of them came through our board. Again, we're opening up our question answer. If you have questions, please put it in the question and answer button and list your questions there as we continue the webinar. One of the questions that was asked is, do you accept listings from manufacturer apparel garment suppliers from international locations?
Right, I see that Mariah answered that. So right now we only accept North American locations, which means that you have to have an American address or a Canadian address. But if you actually have North American distributors, you can list your business through your distributors. What we want to make sure is we have someone in the vicinity of North America to work with our free users and also paid users, paid suppliers. Yes.
Okay, great. The other question is, going through your site, anyone can go there. How do you know a supplier is good? Is there metrics that you have in place where it allows a buyer to go as they're searching to make sure that, they're good, or is it on their own research that they're certified and they can deliver their products?
There are four, well, I'll say five really important cues. Number one is, as you said, what kind of certifications that they have, because if you're procuring for industrial clients, it's important that they comply to your standard. And the second thing is within a supplier profile, we actually have a lot of structured data built around the capabilities. So make sure you check what they are good at, what they list on their website and also on the Thomas profile, comply with your requirements. And number three, I found that firmographic data points are very, very important. So most startups, they don't survive after the first year, right? If you can find a company that has been around for a longer period of time, that's usually a really good indicator that they do really good business. And four, if you see the Thomas verified or Thomas registered button, like the badge next to it, sorry, I should have said badge, it means that they are quadruple verified, and they also have the capability in doing marketing and improving the web presence. So those are the people that actually put a lot of effort in having a good presence in front of their audiences. So that's usually a vote of confidence. And also, as I said, 5, we have custom quotes. Whenever you're not sure, use that, because it's a free service and we work so closely with our manufacturers. Sometimes for certain machining or services, there are not that many manufacturers in that space, and it may be good for you to tap into our social capital to find the right people for you.
Okay, great, thank you. Do you have any sections that are suppliers and buyers? Do we have a whole list of people who are attending, and they have a mixture of suppliers and also mixtures of buyers?
Sorry, can you repeat your question?
The question is, because in our attendance, we have different people who are suppliers and
Yes.
who are buyers. Are there different sections in your website that cater to the different?
Really, really good question. So if you look at thomasnet.com, right? I'd say whenever you start searching for product and services, say fabrication, that's usually when buyers tend to use the most in using that to assess and find new suppliers. But sometimes I notice that if you are a manufacturer, it doesn't mean that you don't need to find second tier suppliers, or you may want to partner with someone who is very strong in fabrication and you're a brass metal supplier, right? So this is actually both a sourcing tool, but also it could be a partnership and lead generation tool. Say, like if you're a supplier for plastic, and you may look for injection mold manufacturers, right? Because they are your upstream providers of the service that you can supply into. So in a way, our data is very versatile, and I've seen people using our data on both sides. And the part of our content that is the most ubiquitous between the two-sided market is actually our Thomas Industry Insights content, where you can see all the updated information around the following topics. Let me show you. So we write a lot about additive manufacturing, automation, as well as supply chain information, and also product announcements. So all those content are very relevant to both sides of the market. And finally, as I mentioned, we do have Thomas Manufacturing Index, where you can see, this is actually quite crazy. We just brought in an amazing data scientist. He did a PhD in robotics, and he was a lead researcher at Harvard. And he actually helped us using our data to create the Thomas Manufacturing Index, where you can see how closely it's correlated with S&P 500. So if you're really into stock trading, or you're a consultant or industry analyst, you may also want to get hold of some of our data and see if you can, fill in a form and get access to our data for your businesses. So in a way, I'm just in shock sometimes how big and deep Thomas is. And I think Paul has a joke, like when he saw the number of slides of my presentation, he was like, oh my God, you have 100 slides? I'm like, dude, that's not even scratching the surface of what we do.
And it's good that you're telling me that. Houston is the capital of energy and oil and energy, and as well as a strong medical center here in Houston. How can they utilize your particular offerings and being able to provide as a supplier to buyer?
Well, funnily you said that. I think, especially for medical suppliers, I was actually talking to a medical hospital group. I cannot say names. I cannot give you names, but they have over 200 hospitals in America, and they're struggling right now. Even though you think, oh, well, medical healthcare must be the fastest growing sector during a pandemic, but the problem is most people make money from elective surgeries, and because of COVID-19, everyone stops going to have their elective surgeries done. So as a result, they are really struggling, and they got in touch with Thomas, and they really wanted us to help them connect with distributors that might be interested in affiliate marketing. And we actually linked them up with some really useful contacts. So I'd say the best advice I have is don't be shy. Get in touch with me or Mariah if you have any questions, because I'm noticing that in my whole career at Thomas, I have never been talking to so many people, including you, Paul, really, right? Like, I think COVID-19 is a terrible pandemic, but it is an opportunity for us to be humans and really try to spend time in listening to one another, help each other altruistically. So yeah, if you're looking for anything, let us know. But remember, you can come onto our platform, you can source using our search, but also you can list your business and get in front of 1.5 million visitors a month. I'm still in awe, like so many manufacturers had to ask us to take the business off because they're just generating too many clients. So
yeah, no, and thank you for just this aspect of providing all this information. Last question I'm going to ask you. You're a data person. Do you have any insights for the future, either the near future or far future, gathering what you've had so far? Any kind of things that you want to just kind of throw out?
Yeah, two big things, reshoring and automation. So I'm talking to a lot of manufacturing supply chain consultants. They see a lot of contractions in outer consultancy part of the world, but when it comes to automation and supply chain optimization, that's where a lot of energy is starting to aggregate. So if you're in business of any manufacturing technologies, this is your time to shine. If you're not in that space, I wouldn't worry too much, but make sure you subscribe to Thomas Industry Update newsletter, so you're at least aware of the lingo and the trends. And in addition, I think reshoring is really interesting, and it's very challenging because a lot of the skills and ability to create things from scratch in America had completely been outsourced since, you know, the early 80s. And I think this is a time when Asian community who have like one foot in you know, Chinese manufacturing markets as well as American markets really be the conduit of bringing in knowledge, expertise, and skills. Because I bet, you know, not everyone can reshore overnight. And I think a lot of people are just really trying to understand what are the areas that they can consider. So my prediction is, let me actually pull the COVID-19 slide one more time. I think my prediction is when it comes to reshoring, raw materials that are homogeneous enough will see reshoring activities faster than anything that requires significant capital investments. So say, for example, if you look at fabricated materials, as well as raw materials, you know, like steel and aluminum and plastic, these two, I feel like, are more interchangeable, and American manufacturers can pivot faster in sourcing this locally. But anything that requires additional, you know, intelligence and experience, they're going to take more time.
Okay. No,
Good question, Paul.
Yeah, no, these are great things, and you know, this is the data guru here that we're talking with Cathy, and we're really happy that you guys provided. Can you just put your last slide? I want to make sure our audience has the contact information as we wrap it up. So I'm going to just close it up as we wrap it up. Thank you both, Cathy and Mariah, for putting this webinar together. We'll be posting the website on our website, the presentation with resources that you talked about under the resource tab by the end of the day. Also, we want to remind you next week we have more webinars lined up. Next Tuesday with the winning businesses, and on July with the Labor Department to talk about new employment and labor laws in response to COVID-19. Please take a look at our website and app to find out more information. Again, that's www.asianchamber-hou.org, where you can find up-to-date information of what we're doing. As a reminder, we have an app, so please download and stay engaged. If you're not on our newsletter, please sign up, as we want to stay engaged with you and connected. And follow us on Facebook or social media with links on the top portion of our website. Again, thank you for spending time. Thank you for Thomas. Thank you for Cathy and Mariah for putting this whole thing together. We're so happy that you guys are able to provide these resources for our audience and our members. And we just want to ask you to just stay safe and see you at the future webinars. This concludes our webinars, and we'll be ending this meeting shortly. Again, thank you. Thank you, Cathy. You want to say bye? And any last words, Cathy?
Yeah, thank you for having us. And anytime you guys want to hit me up on LinkedIn or send me an email, feel free to connect. We're happy to help.
Great. And we'll go ahead and post all this stuff online. So I appreciate it. We're going to go ahead leave shortly. And this concludes our webinar today. Thank you so much for joining us.